3 preseason games, 3 preseason losses, and the main NHL guys have one more game before they fly to Czechia. Is it time to be concerned? Not really. You already know my answer, but we're still going to break it down here at Locked On Devils. Buckle up, everybody.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Scores! Oh, Stevens stepped up, nailed him. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here at the Locked On Network. I'm your host, college hockey play-by-play announcer, Devils writer of Pucks Pitchforks, and also part-time credential media member, Trey Matthews. The New Jersey Devils still do not have a win this preseason, dropping their latest matchup to the Washington Capitals by a score of 5-3 at the Prudential Center. I will say this game was a better showing than their previous matchup against the Montreal Canadiens, in which they got shut out. It seemed like they had more firepower, but that's to be expected when some of your star players suit up in this game. Before I give my thoughts on the matchup, here's what Sheldon Keefe had to say post-game regarding his team's effort.
You liked your start, but maybe not your finish, or at least halfway through.
Yeah, I liked our first few shifts. Not much after that, until the third period. We got our legs and got some life going from there, but a lot of not great hockey.
It seemed like maybe on a couple of goals there were some guys left uncovered, maybe at the top of the crease, or even the defense had maybe pitched too high. Is there maybe a miscommunication going on there with your defensemen?
Well, we had, trying to think of the goals here. Yeah, the first goal we got running around a bit in our own zone. Their second goal, we had a complete mistake in our coverage of the neutral zone. So yeah, there's some miscues there for sure, but I think it was all a general product of we just didn't play hard enough, for good chunks of the game. When you don't play hard, you're going to have defensive breakdowns. It's as simple as that.
Okay, in the first segment, we're going to talk about the game in general, because in that SOT, Keefe said that it wasn't a good game, and people have their various opinions regarding preseason and its true meaning, and I want to go into more detail because what's the one thing I've been saying about preseason the past few times on this show? You take it with a grain of salt. Then in the second segment, I will highlight some players that caught my eye, including Seamus Casey. I got to give props to Seamus Casey, and also, how does that meme go? I wasn't familiar with your game. I knew Seamus Casey was good, but he's showing that he has an even higher ceiling. And then in the third and final segment, like I do with every post-game recap, I will compare the stats, give the Devils a thumbs up or a thumbs down, since we're still in the midst of preseason. All right. From that soundbite, Sheldon Keefe said it wasn't a good game. And he's right. There were some defensive lapses. There were some mistakes that were avoidable for the Devils. Sam Kassan had an interesting take towards the end of the second period. This game was aired exclusively on the Devils website. He said that the Devils rely a lot on their skill. They are a skill-based team and that's to be expected when you have players like Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt on your roster, because all three of those players, they love to play with speed. They love to put on some razzle-dazzle in front of the fan base, whereas the Washington Capitals, they are big forecheckers. They have to if they want to be successful. And the thing about that is, like, skill base is going to take some time, especially when some of your key players are coming back from injury, or maybe they joined the team a little late. Rust is to be expected when you're a skill-based team, and forechecking is easier to nail compared to skill. And that's what I want people to realize, which is the Devils are going to be a good team, and they have a lot of upside. They have a lot of potential, but you got to give them time, especially when your star player, Jack Hughes, hasn't played in a game since early April. He made his preseason debut, but he has to ease into it. And this sort of leads into my next talking point, which is expectations. I don't know what people's expectations are for preseason, but like I said, I try to go a little easier when assessing the Devils because preseason is all about experimentation. In the previous game against the Montreal Canadiens, the Devils' fourth line was their top line. That was the meat line consisting of Paul Cotter, Curtis Lazar, and Nathan Bastian. But what happened in this game? None of those players suited up, and the Devils lost a lot of aggression. And going back to Sam Kassan's point, forechecking and being aggressive goes a long way, but the Devils are missing a lot of their brutes in the lineup. And Curtis Lazar's preseason streak ended after tonight. But digressing a little bit, see what I'm talking about? Experimentation. And then when we're looking at the overall record, the Devils went undefeated in preseason last year. And what happened? History repeated itself. The Devils did not have a good regular season. And I hate to use them as an example, but it's so true. The Rangers went 1-5 in last year's preseason matchups. And what happened during their regular season? They became President's Trophy winners. Goes to show you that record isn't everything. And for Sheldon Keefe, he's coming from an experience where expectations are through the roof. He's coming from the Toronto Maple Leafs, a team that is expected to win year after year after year. A team, despite not having won the Stanley Cup since the 1960s, they're still expected to be Stanley Cup contenders each year, but they keep falling short. And there's a lot of pressure on whomever is behind the bench. This time is Craig Berube. And there's a popular video making its way around social media of Craig Berube being asked if it's time to panic after the Maple Leafs lost their first two preseason matchups. That's how crazy Toronto is when it comes to expectations. And that can sometimes be a good thing. Sometimes it can be a bad thing. As you guys know, I'm a Lakers fan, and they're always expected to be contenders. They're always expected to win the NBA championship. Getting to the playoffs is not good enough for a team like the Los Angeles Lakers. And I think the same could be said for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I think there was also something making its way around social media where Sheldon Keefe was apologizing to Devils fans for not getting them their first preseason win. Once again, just because you have a good preseason, it does not mean you're going to have a good regular season. And I don't even think some of these players are going 100%. For someone like Jack Hughes, for someone like Timo Meier, they are coming back after having off-season surgery. And this is their first in-game action outside of a practice. Do you think they're going to be going 100% out the gate? Probably not. It's like when you work out and you lift 200 pounds and you stop working out, you're not going to go back to lifting 200 pounds right away. You got to work your way up. And the same could be said for some of the players. And for players that already have a roster spot in Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt, I think it's safe to say players like that, they're going to make the opening night roster. Let's just be real here. They're not really going to use preseason as a means to get their names out there because they're already established. Preseason means more for a player like Seamus Casey, who's trying to earn a roster spot, Kevin LeBanc, who's trying to earn a roster spot. That's where preseason tailors more to, and it's meant for a coach to get a good look to see, do these players have chemistry? Is this player surprising you? Is this player lagging behind in a certain category? And what do we need to work on in our next practice? And I get it. Like, people want to see the Devils win. I'm no exception. But preseason, you just got to be patient. So when Sheldon Keefe said that it wasn't a good game, yeah, you're right. It wasn't a good game. But I would much rather the Devils be making these types of mistakes during preseason when these games don't count compared to the regular season. All right. Now they got that film. They see what went wrong. They saw what happens when you run into hot goaltending, because let's face it, Logan Thompson, he was on one. And sometimes you just got to tip your cap to the opposing goalie. The Devils made him uncomfortable at some points, especially, I believe, during their second power play. But Logan Thompson, he stood tall. And I think Sheldon Keefe made some smart coaching decisions, including pulling Jacob Markstrom to get the extra attacker out when there was 4 minutes remaining in the third period. And the Devils ended up getting a goal thanks to Jack Hughes, and they cut the lead 4-3. I know I sound like a broken record when I say this. Preseason, go a little easy on it because not everyone's going to be playing all at once. Some players are just trying to ease back into it. And some players, it tailors more to them, especially if they're trying to make it the opening night roster. And I saw a YouTube video talking about it as well. And they brought up similar points that I'm bringing up right now. All right. I'll talk more about this game momentarily and tell you which players stood out for me. But before we continue, let me tell you guys about Game Time. I've actually used the Game Time app before to purchase myself some MLB and NBA tickets. Game Time picks, curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. All in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Seat views, get a good view from your seat in the app before you buy. The lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in ticketing industry. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time, baby. Okay, let's kick off this segment with another soundbite, this time courtesy of Jack Hughes, who made his preseason debut, similar to what I said in segment one. And this is the first time that Jack Hughes appeared in a game since being shut down early to get shoulder surgery. Take a listen.
For a first game back after a long summer of rehab for you, how'd you feel out there?
Yeah, just good to get back into game action. So looking forward to getting going and maybe playing Friday and then getting off to Prague.
When you look at that, obviously not a ton of power play opportunity, but what did you kind of like about the mix that you guys had tonight?
Yeah, it was good. I think the only thing we didn't do was score, so I'd like to put one of those in, but good start for us, minus not scoring.
How are you feeling playing with Jesper and Timo right now? You feel like the chemistry's growing a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, that was our first game in a while, so fun to play with those guys, and I'm sure as we go, we'll get even better. But just gotta sharpen up, probably on the defensive side, and then regarding the offensive side, that'll come as we go.
What were your first impressions of Seamus tonight and your first game with him?
Yeah, I mean, I've watched a lot of him over the years, so thought he had a great game. Moved the puck well, defended hard. He's a really good skater, so I was honestly surprised with how good he was tonight.
How valuable have the face-off reps been for you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that's something I'm gonna have to work on as the year goes on.
I'll talk about Jack Hughes in a moment, but I want to shift my focus over to Seamus Casey. Seamus Casey was playing in his second straight game. He made his preseason debut against the Montreal Canadiens, and I said he was pretty solid, nothing eye-popping, nothing that makes your jaw drop to the floor, but I think he was holding himself well in the defensive end. This game, holy crap, he took it up a notch, and this time, he's playing with more established NHL players. And once given some room to operate, you just saw how comfortable Seamus Casey was in his own end. And Bill Spalding actually put this out on social media. One of my concerns for Casey was his size. And I said maybe he'll be better utilized as a forward. But he's actually stronger than he looks. He's not afraid to give a hit, and he's not afraid to take a hit either. And I think what was on full display in terms of his comfortability was when he got the primary assist on Jack Hughes' goal. Because at one point, he was quarterbacking the offense, and he was probing, looking for an opening to operate, and he was rewarded when Jack Hughes had a beautiful shot that went past Logan Thompson. I'm probably going to talk about this in the next episode. Seamus Casey is actually making a case for himself to join the Devils in Czechia. And I know I said that I think Seamus Casey should be utilized in the AHL, but if you just don't put too much pressure on his shoulders, then maybe he does deserve to make the opening night roster in Prague. We'll see what happens, but I just got to say, I was rather impressed with Seamus Casey, especially after the second period. He got my attention, and then he got my attention even more at the conclusion of the game because he walked away with a point. It sucks that he didn't walk away with a point against the Montreal Canadiens, but I still noticed his impact. Round of applause to Seamus Casey. He surprised Jack Hughes. He surprised Sheldon Keefe. Seamus Casey has a very bright future. Speaking of defensemen who performed well, Brendan Dillon. We rave about Brendan Dillon's physicality. He's not afraid to throw his body around and rack up the hits, but he's got a beautiful shot as well. And I think his offense might be underrated. He walked away with 2 points in this game, but if I'm being honest with myself, he should have walked away with 2 goals, but they gave that goal to Nico Hischier in the third period. But digressing a little bit, in the first period, to give the Devils a 1-0 lead, he had a beautiful one-timer shot that was just like a rocket ship. It took off in a hurry and found the back of the net. I was in disbelief. I know it's preseason, but even I got excited for it. It was incredible. And then in the third period, he was similar to Seamus Casey, quarterback in the offense. He let a shot go, and I thought he got his second goal of the game, but apparently Nico Hischier tipped it on in, and Hischier was rewarded with the goal. But looking at the replay, I don't know. You be the judge. I think it should have belonged to Brendan Dillon. That's just my 2-cent opinion, but Brendan Dillon was still rewarded with an assist. And got to give a shout out to Jack Hughes and Timo Meier coming back and finally getting some game action. I think they're going to play on Friday. If I had to make an educated guess, we'll see what happens. But unfortunately, I lost my bet on Prize Picks because I thought that Jack and Timo would get less than 2.5 shots. I took the under, and I lost because both of them walked away with 4 shots on goal. But goes to show you that they were a tad bit more aggressive than I thought they were going to be. And Stefan Nason, you guys know, I'm a big Stefan Nason guy. His net front presence is going to make a huge difference, and we saw it on the Brendan Dillon goal. As once again, he was hanging in front of the net. I thought he was going to be rewarded with the goal, but it went to Brendan Dillon, rightfully so, after looking on the replay. But Nason walked away with a point. He got the secondary assist on Brendan Dillon's goal. I think Stefan Nason, with his aggression, net front presence, like I just mentioned, and the fact that he knows where to place himself, he's going to fit just fine with this Devils organization once again. And I'm glad that they got him during the offseason. He was one of the players I had circled for New Jersey. And lo and behold, he's back and he belongs here. Glad he signed that 3-year deal. All right, we're going to compare the stats, give the Devils a letter grade. But before we do, let me tell you guys about FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Visit FanDuel.com to look at the odds, and please remember to always gamble responsibly. And now, let me tell you guys about Indeed. I've actually used Indeed before to book myself some play-by-play gigs. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree. Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/locked on. Just go to Indeed.com/locked on right now and support my show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/locked on. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Okay, let's compare the stats. Give the Devils a thumbs up or a thumbs down and get out of here. Shots on goal differential 28-27 in favor of the Devils. Once again, I feel like the Devils came out with a better sense of purpose compared to their previous game against Canadians, where they basically had an AHL roster and couldn't get any momentum, and it was a complete snooze fest. But the Devils took their foot off the gas pedal in period 2, and this is the second time this preseason, which we saw the Devils get off to a pretty decent start, but as the game progressed, they kind of slowed down, but not going to get into it. Face-off percentage, 52.5% to the Devils, 47.5% to the Capitals. Power play, Devils were 0 for 2. Capitals did not have a power play opportunity. In the previous game, the Devils and Canadians, it felt like they spent half the game on special teams. So thank God it's a tale of different games. Hits 24-16 in favor of the Capitals. Block shots 21-16 in favor of the Capitals. Giveaways 31-20 in favor of the Devils. Got to work on that a little bit. Takeaways 16-6 in favor of the Devils. All right. Do the Devils get a thumbs up or a thumbs down? I don't even know why I do this, but the Devils came out with more firepower. Saw a lot of good things. Timo Meier walked away with a point. Jack Hughes walked away with a point. Dawson Mercer, similar to those two, made his preseason debut. He's still trying to get up to speed because he joined the team late in training camp. Seamus Casey looked good. Brendan Dillon looked good. Yeah, they're going to make lapses here or there, but there's a skill-based team, and they're going to be just fine. I'll give the Devils, this is a tough one. I'm going to agree with Sheldon Keefe. It wasn't a good game, so I'm going to give him a thumbs down, but I'm not really concerned all that much. And like I said, expectations, keep them anywhere from moderate to low in preseason. And just to close out today's show, record doesn't mean anything in preseason. If you go undefeated in preseason, great. History's not on your side in regards to having a good season. But if you don't have a good preseason, then it doesn't mean anything because most likely that's not the lines you're going to roll with come the start of the regular season. All right. Hopefully you guys take a chill pill. If you're freaking out about preseason, hopefully I shined a new light. Let me know what you guys think about preseason and also how the Devils have been performing and the expectations that some people might have for Sheldon Keefe and his crew. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on a podcast streaming service, hit me up on my personal X Page app at TreyMatt4 or the show's X Page app at Locked On Devils. As for today's episode, that's all the time I have for you. Continue to stay safe. Have a wonderful day, New Jersey. Go Devils. I'll catch you guys next episode. Thanks for listening once again.